So, I don't know if y'all have been following the Claudine Gay tea, honey. She did an op-ed piece for the New York Times, the paper of record. And the way Miss Dr. Claudine threw Palestinians under the bus in this New York Times op-ed piece has my head and my heart hurting. See, like, the curious thing for me is, like, just how much we are willing to give up to get access to and or maintain proximity to empire. So let me give you some context. Here is a quote from this op-ed. Yes, I made mistakes. In my initial response to the atrocities of October 7th, I should have stated more forcefully what all people of good conscience know. Hamas is a terrorist organization that seeks to eradicate the Jewish state. And at a congressional hearing last month, I fell into a well-laid trap. I neglected to clearly articulate the calls for the genocide of Jewish people are abhorrent and unacceptable, and that I would use every tool at my disposal to protect students from that kind of hate. So this quote alone is not my issue. Please don't misunderstand me, right? Legitimate anti-Semitism is wrong. The call for an eradication of anybody based on something such as your ethnicity, race, gender, just your humanness is wrong. But here's where we need to get into the muck and the mire of it. Besides the fact that we should have a nuanced conversation around terrorism versus resistance, I'm even more disturbed by the fact that Dr. Gay very conspicuously never mentions how the whole performance of the inquiry in and of itself was disingenuous, and was, in fact, dressing up the attempts to quash calls for justice and the dismantling of settler colonialism as concerns about anti-Semitism. In this admission, her mistake, she concedes, she apologizes. I beg. See, there was so little concern for the safety of Arab students or the long history of harassment of black students on these very same campuses. She does not dare question where these inquiries were under the white leadership when students mobilized around Islamophobia or anti-blackness. She apologizes. And while I don't expect most people to be able to have the spoons and the language to concisely extract and flesh out such arguments, Dr. Gay does. And the fact she doesn't, and instead spends more word count digging into why she isn't a plagiarist and defending her scholarship, leads me to believe either she doesn't want to, or whoever edited her op-ed intentionally left it out. Either way, a large opportunity was missed, and maybe Dr. Gay doesn't owe us, but, like, come the fuck on, sis. They threw you to the wolves. Like, when are we gonna get it? Like, fight the fuck back and call a thing a thing. God damn. Like, we're never gonna thrive in these institutions as they stand, because what they stand on is the fucking dehumanization of us. Isn't that the lesson that you should have written about, that you learned? Because, baby, the Karens, the Chads, in the comments on the New York Times feed, they are missing all the nuance. They are missing all the context. They are being willfully obtuse. They are calling her a plagiarist and saying she is a disgrace. A disgrace to who, I would ask, if I really was invested in arguing with motherfuckers who are being willfully daft, but I'm not. It is a play from the Use a Black Person as a Scapegoat handbook. And none of us are surprised. I am sure Dr. Gay is not surprised. Which then begs the fucking question, sis, what the fuck are you apologizing for? Why are you writing your op-ed in the racist-ass New York Times, who has continually covered this with a barely veiled bias? Why are you still trying to have an audience with these folks? I don't know if Dr. Gay is just trying to save what might be left of her Ivy League academic career, or if she really wants acceptance from white Ivy League academia. It's probably a little bit of both. Either way, black academic girlies, another one bites the dust. And it seems no matter how many times this plays out, we keep fighting to be seen as whole, deserving humans in spaces that were built on the continual dehumanization of us. And a quick digression. According to some of my little sisters who have had the, I don't know if you want to call it the privilege, but have definitely had the expressed experience of being educated at Harvard, Dr. Gay was not really out there advocating for the girls as a professor. So might we also remember that when you try to pony up to empire, hoping that it will give you protection, and you decide that you want to be with the them versus the us, the them will also come for you. Anyways, back to my original point. The erasure of Palestinians and global imperialism in the name of getting our bag, these degrees, the accolade, and the due. I'm not being facetious. I'm not undermining black folks, especially women and queer folks, wanting to be compensated and respected. But I am asking us to interrogate at what cost. Because we'll chase that shit so hard, and I don't know if that's what she's doing, I'm speaking more broadly now, that we'll forget no matter how obedient, how respectable, how degreed, how moneyed, how articulate, how brilliant, we're always going to take the fall. And our ultimate loyalty should never be with these institutions that are products of systems of oppression, but to the greater and collective good. And that good always has to be global and transnational. Godspeed to you, Dr. Gay.